During this time period of European history, absolutism and constitutionalism became popular forms of government. It began with the doctrine of the divine rights of kings. The divine right of kings is the idea that a monarchy's authority comes directly from God, meaning they have absolute power and their rules shouldn't be questioned. It was a big deal in medieval Europe, but faded as ideas about democracy grew. Moving on to the people who created these doctrines, John Locke was an influential English philosopher in the 17th century, known for his ideas on government and individual rights. He argued that people have natural rights to life, liberty, property, and that governments are created to protect these rights. If a government fails to do so, citizens have the right to revolt. Locke's thoughts laid the government for modern democracy and were pivotal in the development of liberal political ideas. Thomas Hobbes was a 17th century English philosopher, best known for his work, L.O.L. He believed that in a state of nature, humans would act out of self-interest, leading to chaos and conflict. To avoid this, he argued for a strong centralized authority, a social contract where individuals give up some freedoms in exchange for security and order provided by a sovereign power. Hobbes' ideas emphasized that the need for a powerful government to maintain peace and prevent disorder. Now on to the people who use these doctrines. This is seen in Charles I, was the King of England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1625 until his execution in 1649. His reign was marked by political conflicts with Parliament, particularly over issues of royal authority and governance. Charles believed in the divine right of kings, which led to the tensions with those who sought more Parliament power. This conflict eventually escalated into the English Civil War. After being defeated, he was tried for treason and executed, making him a significant figure in British history and a symbol of the struggle between monarchy and Parliament democracy.
Charles I would rule and spend money without Parliament's consent. He even dissolved Parliament many times. Due to this, the Triennial Act was passed. The king was mandated to summon Parliament every 3 years. This is important because it does not allow kings to rule without Parliament and was supposed to prevent absolutism. However, this clearly did not work since soon after came the English Civil War. As a result of these political issues, the English Civil War began and had 3 causes. The first being the doctrine of the divine right of kings. As mentioned earlier, political authority was a God-given right, and Charles I clearly abused this doctrine. Another reason was debt from the 30 Years' War. It caused Charles I to waste money without authorization from Parliament. The last reason was religious. Puritans wanted to remove Catholicism from the Anglican Church because Charles was implementing Catholic ideas in a Protestant state. The war consisted of 2 main parties called the Roundheads and Cavaliers fighting each other. The Roundheads were mainly Parliament, and Cavaliers were literally glazing the king and fighting for him, and he didn't even like them. The Roundheads ultimately won, and it led to the monarchy being abolished in England, Charles I being executed, and the beginning of a protectorate under Oliver Cromwell. So who was Oliver Cromwell? He was an English Protestant politician and parliamentarian who experienced the acts of Charles I, and due to this, he fought back when the war began. He led the Roundheads, also called the New Model Army, to end the tyranny of Charles I. He was a commoner who later became head of state once Charles I was executed, so people looked up to him like, but the monarchy was abolished, so he was Lord Protectorate. However, Cromwell switched up so quickly on his own people and established a military dictatorship using military force to maintain power. Cromwell's son became Protectorate, however, he was weak, so Charles II, which was Charles I's son, was offered the throne and re-established absolute monarchy in a period called the Restoration Period. After Charles II, James II came to the throne as an absolute monarch too. He was a devout Catholic and alienated all groups that aren't Catholic in a predominantly Protestant state. He also alienated Parliament and pursued aristocratic rule by increasing royal power and reducing the influence of Parliament. Then he married a Catholic lady. He had a son with her, which means he now has a Catholic heir in a predominantly Protestant England. This threatened the people and would basically mean the world was for nothing. Due to him disregarding the concerns and opinions of Parliament, Mary and William of Orange were offered the throne instead by Parliament. This is called the Glorious Revolution because of the minimal bloodshed, and it only lasted a year.
But who exactly were Mary and William of Orange? Mary II was born into the English royal family as a daughter of King James II. William III of Orange was born into The Hague and later joined in marriage to Mary II by their uncle Charles II, meaning
they were cousins.
After the Glorious Revolution, Mary and William of Orange fought against James II. Then he fled England and abdicated the throne in 1689 because he lost support. Following that, Mary and William of Orange replaced his throne and came to power as a joint monarch who ruled over Scotland, Ireland, and England, and then established a constitutional monarchy. Mary and William of Orange were the first and only co-monarchs in Britain, which made it a turning point in England's history.
During the reign of Mary and William of Orange, the English Bill of Rights was passed in 1689. This document first emerged due to the Glorious Revolution when William of Orange took the throne from King James II.
Its main goal was to establish key constitutional principles in England, which limited monarchy's power and established rights for the Parliament and many English individuals. A key detail of the Bill of Rights was the claim that the monarchy cannot dismiss any laws that were passed by Parliament. The bill also prohibits the monarchy from imposing taxes without the parliamentary consent and makes sure the elections to Parliament are fair. During this whole time in France, the Edict of Fontainebleau was issued in 1685 by King Louis XIV of France. This edict was to revoke the Edict of Nantes, which had allowed Huguenots, which were French Protestants, the ability to practice their religion and freedom. But the Edict of Fontainebleau revoked this edict. Additionally, this edict was aimed to unify France under Catholicism, which led to many Catholics trying to get rid of Protestants. This all caused many destruction in France, such as burning down churches and the closure of many Protestant schools. Many Huguenots saw France as an unsafe country, which resulted in them fleeing and seeking refuge in other countries. This all led to the economic decline in France, and the Edict of Fontainebleau is now seen as a turning point in religious tolerance in Europe. Who was Louis XIV? Louis XIV, also known as the Sun King, was king of France from 1643 to 1715. Louis is mostly famous for his absolute monarchy, to which he centralized power and diminished the influence of his nobility. He also believed in the divine rights of king, which made him believe his authority came directly from God. But not only is Louis known for his absolute monarchy, but he also transformed France into a dominant power in Europe through military expansion and a strong centralized government. Louis also implemented policy that promoted the arts and culture, leading to a rise of French literature, music, and art. However, due to his wars and many spendings, Louis drained France's finance, to which contributed to the economic difficulties that took place in the French Revolution. Louis XIV's reign is remembered as a cultural achievement and a political argument. The Palace of Versailles was first a hunting lounge for Louis XIII, but was later transformed by Louis XIV, which son of Louis XIII, to a grand palace in 1661. This was done because Louis XIV wanted to showcase the power he had and show the glory of France. The construction involved intensive architecture and landscaping done by architect Louis Lavaux and landscape designer André Lenoir. The Palace of Versailles featured many luxurious rooms, including the famous Hall of Mirrors and sprawling gardens decorated by fountains and sculptures. The palace became a symbol of absolute monarchy for King Louis XIV, and it was featured to be the center of political power in France. King Louis XIV also used the Palace of Versailles to control his nobility and centralize his authority.
Now, let's get into what enlightened absolutism was. Enlightened absolutism was a political ideology in the 18th century influenced by the Enlightenment, a movement inspired by science, reason, and individualism. It encouraged education, reformation, and religious toleration while still being ruled by absolute monarchs. Enlightened absolutists such as Frederick II of Prussia and Joseph II of Austria believed that reformation was key in ensuring stability and power. Frederick II was famous for his contributions to the arts as well as the social and religious reforms, like freedom of worship and religious tolerance. Similarly to Frederick, Joseph II contributed to reforms in the Habsburg Empire, yet many were not supported by the clergy and nobility. Such reforms that were denied was the modernization of the church by restricting religious education and suppressing monasteries. Moving on to Russia, Peter the Great ruled over Russia as Tsar. When coming to power, Peter traveled around, to which he became fascinated with Western culture. Peter the Great was able to modernize the country of Russia by adopting Western ideologies such as the culture, military, and education, which he believed to be more advanced. Peter also modernized the economy by improving industrialization, such as creating steel factories. In addition, a great moment for Russia was the discovery of city St. Petersburg, which was founded by Peter the Great, given its name, and later became the capital.